The Trump administration is proposing major overhauls of the climate regulations, allowing states to set their own rules on coal emissions. I want to take a look at these new rules and the potential impact on our environment and on our health. Believe it or not, the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, is behind this plan. It would reverse Obama-era measures to combat climate change, specifically the signature Clean Power Plan. Trump's new rules are projected to allow for 12 times the amount of carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere when compared with Obama's Clean Power Plan. According to the EPA, the new rules could have an impact on over 300 U.S. power plants. It projects that this proposal would make slight cuts to overall pollutant emissions over the next decade, but the numbers aren't that great when compared to the Obama plan that was in place. By 2030, the Obama administration's Clean Power Plan would have reduced carbon dioxide emissions by about 19% compared to 2005 levels. That would be the equivalent of taking 75 million cars off the road. The new plan will have less of an impact than Obama's plan, but will still have a net reduction from those 2005 levels, cutting CO2 emissions by just 0.7% to 2.5% in the same time frame. That's equal to taking only 2.7 to 5.3 million cars off the road. When it comes to sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide emissions, elements that form smog, those would be cut by 1% and 2% respectively under the new plan, compared to 22% and 24% under Obama's plan. Now, the cost of coal energy seems like a bargain up front because coal-powered electricity costs about 3.2 cents per kilowatt hour. That's enough to run your microwave for about an hour straight. But if you factor in the cost of health care, coal is about 170% more expensive. Each kilowatt hour of coal-generated electricity costs at least an additional 5.6 cents of damage to our well-being. That includes the price of health care and climate change-related damages. A study from Harvard Medical School estimates that the public health cost of coal in Appalachia alone is a whopping $74.6 billion. That's the public health care. We're going to be paying for these new rules over the next few decades with our pocketbooks and with our health. Joining me now is former EPA Administrator Gina McCarthy. Gina, good to see you again. What do you make of this? What's the both the immediate and the longer-term impact of rolling back the Clean Power Plan?
Well, Ali, I don't know whether I can do a better job than you just described, but let me give it a shot. Really, this Clean Power Plan, as I understand it, is really a proposal that is following the industry playbook step by step. It's all about coal at all cost. It's about deferring the mission of the agency so that you can save a few dollars. And it is, in fact, not even going to save a few dollars. It's going to impact our health, our well-being, the future for our kids. Why they're doing this is very simple. They're simply playing to their base at this point, and it really is all about pushing coal out as if that's a path forward instead of clean energy, which is where you get the biggest bang for the buck all around.
Right, and we've seen that the base when it comes to coal is small, and people who work in coal have legitimate concerns about what their future is going to look like, but we could actually spend money in addressing those concerns, in retraining, in doing other things. We are protecting an industry that it's a little bit strange to protect. What does anybody, I mean, this is part of why you and I talked about why Scott Pruitt was in there for so long, because this is what they're busy doing at the EPA. They're deregulating.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're not paying any attention to the mission of the agency. But even more importantly with this rule, Ali, is they're not just going to result in, I would argue, significantly more carbon pollution than what would have happened under the Clean Power Plan. They're actually costing us a lot more. They're deferring the federal judgment and giving it to states who could essentially do little or nothing to reduce carbon pollution. Totally up to them. In contrast to the car rules, which we just saw, that was all about the federal government taking charge and eliminating California's ability as a state and others to actually go further. So this is just, part of a playbook that is nothing but taking away our public health protections, deferring real action we need for our future, and all at the expense of our pocketbooks and our health. And
at least California in the car issue is suing on that. But let me just ask you this. If there is a future. And if there is an administration that isn't sort of not in denial about climate change, could this be rebuilt? Can we go back? Can we get back on track if this happens?
Here's the challenge that we have. You know, the clean energy movement in the U.S. is strong, but we can't afford the kind of delays that we're seeing from this administration. Of course we'll come back. People know climate change is real, and EPA is not in this rule actually denying that or denying EPA's responsibility to reduce the carbon pollution that's fueling climate change. They're just not doing it. Yeah. And so what you see is this is another delay. The great news is that this administration has an abysmal track record when they're trying to delay needed protections like this. And the D.C. Circuit, when they're looking at these appeals, are really slamming them back. Most recently, we saw a reversal of the delays on the waters of the U.S., a reversal on the delays of chlorpyrifos, which is a pesticide that hurts our kids, a reversal on the delays relative to other rules moving forward, like our chemical manufacturing safety rules. All of those are getting thrown back at EPA. The bad news is that every minute and every year we delay in making climate action real and happen, we are losing U.S. leadership. We're losing our ability to protect our kids' future and our health today.
Gina, good.